Hi, I'm Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co founder of the She Angels Foundation. I'm also the podcast host of Invest in Her and an award winning producer, author, and TEDx speaker. Our show, Invest in Her, features phenomenal female founders and funders. As you know, women receive less than 2% of venture capital funding. Our series is about accelerating the funding of women by connecting them to funding resources. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to this week's edition of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, as well as executive producer of Show Her the Money. And speaking of Show Her the Money movie, we have on one of our associate producers today. You've seen her on my show before, but she's back with something, if you can imagine this, even bigger and more amazing than our first conversation. And let me tell you, that was like a wow. So I can't wait to have back on today the one and only Sarah Dusek, who just a few years ago sold her business for $100 million. What an inspiration she is to all of my listeners. And now she's going to tell us about her new endeavor. We're also going to be talking about her book and her venture fund. So welcome back to the show, Sarah. Great to see you from Africa.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It is so great to be back here again.
Great. Well, I'm so, as I was brushing up on your background and, of course, this incredible sale of your business, this exit that you had a few years ago with your business under canvas, which you sold for $100 million. And now you're doing such good work with that money. And I think an inspiration to all women who are going through exits and kind of laying the groundwork for what people should do when they have a big exit like that, right? Give back, pay it forward. And that's exactly what you've been doing. And I love that about you. Such a great role model. Um, I'm so curious as I was, looking over your bio again. Um, as to what drew you to Africa. I know you're coming to us from Africa today. Your new endeavor is in Africa. So I wanted to start with that. Like, what brought you to that continent and the work that you're doing there?
Yeah, I fell in love with the African continent back in my early 20s. So I first came here when I was 21, fresh out of school. I had finished my law degree. And of course, the most obvious thing that you do when you graduate from university and you graduate with a law degree is that you go to Africa.
Yeah, right. Doesn't everybody?
Of course, that's what everybody does, right? And I wanted to give back. I was thinking I was going to have a gap year. I was going to work for an NGO for a year in Africa before going back to starting a career and launching into the corporate world. And I fell in love with the continent. I fell in love with her people. I fell in love with the possibilities, the need, how much needed to still happen here, and the excitement of place and people. And something about the continent just grabbed my heart. And I thought I was going to never leave. I decided I was going to stay, and I was all set to stay, and ended up working for about 2 years as opposed to sort of 6 months, which is what I was initially planning to do. Stayed for about 2 years, and then the country I was living in Zimbabwe, and the country I was in had internal meltdown, and it forced me to leave the country for safety reasons. But there was something about the continent that stayed in my heart and that I absolutely loved. So when we ended up building our business in the US, I was very much inspired by Africa still. And we ended up creating large scale safari camps, tented camps around national parks in the US, which were very much inspired by the African safari experience. And so it's been like I've been carrying a piece of Africa with me since my early 20s. So, yeah.
I love that share. Okay, so I love hearing that and understanding how this all came about. All I can say is, boy, the universe really had a plan for you, didn't it? Because here you went over and took that African experience and turned it into this amazing business in the US. And everybody needs to read your book to hear your story. And also, I want to mention your story is also in our new book coming out in July called Show Her the Money. I figured, all the amazing women like yourself that made the film possible all had such extraordinary stories. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a great book. So everybody has their own chapter in it, and I'm so excited for that to come out very soon. Um, but that being said, isn't it interesting? The universe had a plan that it would take you back to the US to have to give people that experience of being in Africa while you're here in the US. And then you're
Mm.
selling that business for the 100 million, giving you an opportunity to be able to go back to the country you loved and help so many women entrepreneurs, which I know is your focus, through what you then launched, Enygma Ventures. And what an incredible opportunity that was to have that kind of a exit that allowed you to go back and do this unbelievable work in Africa. I mean, I was reading that you have helped over 10,000 entrepreneurs with your programs and resources through Enigma, teaching them everything from, how to build their business to how to demystify funding. Invaluable resources for them. And so that must feel good to be making such an impact in that country that you love so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's always amazing when the universe takes us full circle. And I
Yes.
think often it's really easy to think that your seasons of our lives, were just that. They were just a season and they were over and they were done. But it's almost like I have experienced in my life, almost every season has left me breadcrumbs for my future life. And it's really exciting when you get to see how your past life connects with your future life and your present life. And Africa has been a huge part of my life in very, very different ways. But when I first left the continent in 2000, yeah, 2000, 25 years ago now, I remember feeling distraught and distressed, and I was leaving against my will. I wasn't thinking that I was done with the continent, but yet it was unsafe to stay where I was posted. So the organization I worked for, and I worked for NGOs, said it's time for you to go, and I just didn't want to, and I railed against that decision. I mean, like often when things happen to us in life and we push back and you go, I don't want that to happen to me. That's not what I want. But yet often, there's a better plan and there's a much bigger plan than we can see and imagine.
I
Uh,
always think that when a door shuts, that it's because the universe has a bigger and
there's
better
a bigger
plan than we
plan.
can see for ourselves.
Yeah,
And
100%.
look at that. I mean, it's just fascinating. I do believe that everything we do in our life is a piece of a puzzle to what we're ultimately meant to be doing.
Agree.
And this is an extraordinary example of that. Had you not come back here, here you're working for an NGO. I can imagine you're not making money. And
No,
then,
no making any money. And I used to think that making money was like the dark side of the universe. Like
right,
I was a
right.
full-on dyed-in-the-wool, nonprofit kind of gal. And I totally thought that business and everything to do with business was evil. And little did I know that doesn't have to be that way. And actually, there's an enormous good that we can do from building sustainable, thoughtful, impactful businesses that are intentional with their mission, with
Yeah.
moving the world forward,
And I think
one,
women are
one
really
sale at a
so much,
time.
I think women are so much more cognizant of this. Why it's so important that there is a big wave of women becoming entrepreneurs, becoming investors, seeing the power in that. to help change the world and make it a better place. And
Yeah.
so it's an exciting and a difficult time to be in this arena right now, right? But
Yeah, I mean, it's never been easy for women, right? I mean, it's
right,
never been it's never been a good time.
right.
Um, Now obviously feels particularly challenging and particularly difficult. But the thing I have been reflecting on, even just this last week, has been that when you look back in history, and even looking back at the women's movement, every single time we've seen major advances or major breakthroughs or major change, that has always been up against major opposition. That has always come, it's never
Yeah.
come without a fight. It's never come without a big rallying effort to move the needle and move us forward. And I kind of feel like we're in another one of those very catalytic times of, we have challenges and opposition, and sometimes we need that. We need a galvanizing force to really rally us and really move us forward.
And light a fire.
It lights a fire under us. And I feel very strangely optimistic about this moment in time because I feel like there is so much potential for fighting the good fight and
Right.
really like galvanizing us to fight for the things that we care about and the changes that we want to see in the world.
I feel the same. And I I think yes, we have to have resilience and optimism in these times.
I
And
do.
I want to mention your book because I think every founder should get your book. I think it's invaluable. It's called Thinking Bigger. And the byline is a pitch deck formula for women who want to change the world. And so any entrepreneur out there, really in their own way, is helping change the world. And that's why I think this book is great because women's mindset tends to think a little bit on the smaller side. And I think you're giving women permission and information on exactly what the name of your book is, Thinking Bigger.
Yeah.
And I know you've shared like you never in a million years dreamed you would sell a business for $100 million. That's quite a accomplishment, and a lot of people look up to that. But what I love is that you're saying to these people, to these women, you can do it too.
And here's how. And here's some of the secrets. I think one of the mysteries of growing and scaling companies is that we take people who we deem have been successful in some way, shape, or form, and we think there's no way we could possibly do that, or they had some inside knowledge or inside skills. And often with the venture capital world, folks have had inside knowledge and inside skills and inside networks. And often very women are excluded from all of that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted to write this book was I wanted to demystify my own journey and break it down into very, very like clear, tangible, understandable steps that we took and our failures and all the learnings of that. And at the same time, make my journey accessible in that I used to think, Catherine, when I was growing and scaling my company, that I was the only one in the entire world who didn't know about venture capital, who didn't know how to scale a business, who didn't know, you know, how you built a big business. I felt like I had so many knowledge gaps and so much I didn't know. I didn't have a business degree. I worked as an aid worker for a long time before I switched over into going into business. And I just used to think, oh, it's just me. And I should have had an MBA or I should have gone to business school and I don't know this stuff. But what I have since learned working with so many women over the last 6 years has been that most women don't know half the things that we need to know or are useful to know when building and scaling a business. So my own experience was like, actually, my experience is pretty darn universal for
Oh,
so
yeah.
many women. And I was like, gosh, we have to share these secrets. We have to share these learnings. We have to make this knowledge free. Like it has to be open source. But like, this is how you do this. This is what make these are the things that make this possible. And how do we get that word out to as many women as we possibly can? Because you said earlier, I truly fundamentally believe that when women build businesses, they 110% move the world forward. And the kind of businesses that we build and the way we build businesses, even just the way we lead, is so good for our world. And it's so important that women are at the table building the world that we all live in.
100%. And I want to talk about now your new endeavor because everyone's going to want to know what you're doing next. And it's extraordinary. And I want to say that you're the co-founder and CEO of Few and Far. And I'm going to let you explain what that is. But, of course, you're very conscious of um, climate change and travel experiences that are absolutely extraordinary. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I have been an investor for the last 6 years after stepping down as CEO and founder of my own company. And one of the things, particularly with working with African women, that I have started to zero in on over the last couple of years is this idea of building regenerative businesses. And my first travel business is still a very sustainable, light footprint, low energy use business. But I started thinking about, okay, how do I keep moving the needle on building a business that drives change and actually makes the world better, actually regenerates the planet, actually regenerates us, transforms us as individuals, and actually exists in the world to do good? Is a regenerative, like I think of sustainability these days as almost like the baseline with do no harm. Like if you have a sustainable business, it's like saying my business doesn't do any harm to the universe. But I started thinking about, okay, how do we build regenerative businesses that actually do good for the
Right.
universe? So because I love travel, and I actually really love being an entrepreneur. I love the magic of being in the ring, like being in the arena, making things happen and creating things and bringing things to life. Um, we decided, oh, I've been working on a project for about 3 years now, on and off, and finally decided we were going to launch a new travel company, but this time launch a new travel/climate company. We wanted to build a travel company with the climate in mind, with this idea of how can this company exist to make help climate change and actually move the needle on climate issues. So we have started building new extraordinary lodges, and our first one opened in South Africa in December last year, just on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I think I saw you posted a picture of it. It just looked magnificent.
And we are rewilding and restoring 100,000 hectares of wilderness and biodiversity and starting to get carbon credits for doing that work to actually sequester more carbon out of our atmosphere from protecting and preserving 100,000 hectares of wilderness. So now I don't just want to, I have always loved creating extraordinary travel experiences for people. Now we want to do that and save the planet at the same time. So 100,000 hectares is like the size of Singapore. So this is a
Wow.
really enormous area.
Wow.
And we're hoping to sequester about 100,000 tons of carbon every year from the work that we do. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And we are now inviting guests to come and be part of our journey and part of the experience of experiencing the African bush and the safari experience in a completely new way.
But that is amazing. Amazing. And isn't it must be so exciting to have that vision and then see it come to fruition.
It is so exciting. And that's what I think is so exciting about the entrepreneurial journey is when you can imagine something and then you see it come to life.
Yes.
And then you see you had a dream, you had an idea, you could imagine something in your head and starting to see it come into fruition is it's an incredible feeling.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
being an entrepreneur is the best job in the world. I
It
think it's
is.
amazing.
It absolutely is. And it's the only reason people would do it because it's not easy.
It's
Uh,
really not easy.
yeah.
No.
Easy, not easy, but so rewarding, and in the long run, it can be
Yeah.
super fun
Yeah.
and exciting. So few and far is the name of the travel company. How
Yes.
did they find you and explore the travel options?
Yeah, yeah. So we have two websites, viewandfarcollection.com. So all of our offerings are on there, including our brand new lodge. Our newest lodge is View and Far Lavondo. And you can find that lodge on that website, viewandfarcollection.com. And also on our website, we have curated journeys, carbon neutral journeys for folks to stay in extraordinary places, sort of extraordinary eco lodges, safari style lodging around the world, have extraordinary adventures, all while giving back and creating impact through their dollars to invest in protecting and preserving some of the world's most vulnerable places and peoples. So we have incredible experiences, and we have brand new lodge of our own now in South Africa, which we are welcoming guests to.
I love that. So, for people that want to have an eco-friendly opportunity to vacation, they could also invest in this endeavor.
Yeah, yeah. We are currently, I mean, the part of the entrepreneur's job is to imagine, part of the entrepreneur's job is to create, and part of the entrepreneur's job is to constantly be raising money.
There you go. But giving
So yeah,
people an opportunity who this really speaks to them, they love travel and they want to help not just preserve the environment, but as you said, actually impact the environment in a positive way. What a great investment. What a great opportunity. I
and
hope to see.
amazing perks because you get to
And
travel too. You get to
you
make
know,
a
and
living
here you are, you're
and
starting a
travel.
whole new genre of travel.
Yeah, we are. We
Yeah.
really are. Yeah.
So I'm sure that'll inspire others to do similar, and that's incredible uh, to impact the planet like that, Sarah. You're amazing. Love hearing about this. Hope people will check it out, and of course they will, because who doesn't want to learn about this exciting new opportunity? And just thank you for. I'm so grateful for that you're in my sphere, and that you've been so helpful to us with the film and just getting the messages out there, and such an inspiration.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Of course, you can also find Sarah Dusek, Dusek, on LinkedIn, as well as myself, Catherine Gray, Catherine with a C and Gray with an A. You can learn more about our movie too at showherthemoneymovie.com, and also my sheangelinvestors.com website. Everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you back here next week. Sarah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for what you're doing to make the planet a better place. Big hugs to you.